All right, welcome to this afternoon's proposed millage rate public hearing for tax year 2021. We will have a, I'm sorry, y'all. I was looking at CFO. Let's start off with a moment of silent prayer, and then we'll do Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand with me. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. All right, at this time we will hear from our CFO, Ms. Ramona Bivens. Are you doing the presentation, or is Dr. Smith doing it?
No, this presentation I'm doing.
That's right.
The next meeting.
Next one is next meeting. I'm getting my meetings running together. Okay, I'm sorry. Please proceed, Ms. Bivens.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, and Commissioners. This evening we're having our first public hearing of our proposed millage rate. Each year the Board of Tax Assessors is required to assess the property values for tax purposes. If the fair market value increases, they're required by law to redetermine the values and adjust them. This is called reassessment. This year we had reassessments, and which resulted in higher property values this year. And we also have to compute a rollback millage rate, which is a rate that produces the same total revenue on the current year's digest that the last year's millage rate would had no reassessments occurred. So state statutes requires us to advertise the current year digest in a 5-year history, as well as hold 3 public hearings if the millage rate is set above the rollback rate, which is why we haven't had these hearings. And we'll talk about the actual rollback rate number and the actual millage rate that we're proposing later on in the cycle. So the tax assessor sent out assessment notices to our property owners for real property. Those notices were mailed on April 30th. And the deadline to appeal those notices of the property values was June 14th. Personal property notices were mailed on May 7th, with the deadline to appeal those values of June 21st. The lockdown digest was received on June 30th, but because they went to a new software system, there were some little kinks that had to be worked out, and we got the final revised on July 14th, which is why we're holding these a little later than we normally do. So this is a visual of the 2021 digest and the 5-year history totals. And as you can see, that property values have been increasing over the last 5-6 years by the trend line. Both the gross digest, the exemptions have increased in most instances, and the net digest, which is what we tax the bill, send the tax bills out on, has increased as well. So the gross property values did increase. The exemptions increased by $4.5 million from $1.028 billion to $1.033 billion, resulting in an adjusted net digest, of $9.2 billion, which is about a 9% increase, or $829 million over last year's net values. I also just want to point out that these values exceed our pre-recession values, so property values are really at an all-time high now. They're higher than they were even before we had the real estate housing crash back in 2008 and 9. Each category, this shows the category where the others show the total. We continue to see increases in the real and personal property, which is the majority of the properties and the majority of the tax dollars, as you can see, and that's also where we experienced a significant gain. And we also seen increases in some of the other categories except for the motor vehicles. Real and personal property values increased by a little over 8%, or $847 million from last year. And as I stated, we continue to see a decrease in motor vehicles as people are buying new vehicles which are no longer subject to the ad valorem tax, or the birthday tax as we call it. All new vehicles now pay their taxes up front. So that has decreased. It's down a little over 15%, or $12.4 million from last year. It's at $61.8 million this year. However, some of that is offset by TABT true-up that we received from the state. to try to make up some of that difference. It doesn't make up for all of it, but it does cover a good bit of it. Mobile home values have remained relatively stable with some increases over the past 2 years. Timber values have remained at 0, while heavy-duty equipment this year reduced by approximately $2.3 million or 6% from the previous year. So the millage rate that we're recommending to support the budget that the board unanimously approved in June, and we recommended a gross millage rate of 18.535, which is almost a $500,000 lower, well, a little over a $500,000 lower than what the gross millage rate was last year. After we apply the sales tax credit of 3.789, which is lower than last year as well, but it's due to the increase in property values because we did collect more sales tax last year. But if both of them go up, that still decreases the loss credit for the local option sales tax. So the proposed net millage rate will be 14.746, which is 0.343 lower than last year's millage rate of 15.089. And as you can see on this slide, I just want to show another picture of how the millage rate actually has decreased over the past few years. You see a trend going down. Last year we decreased it from 15.596, and then in 2018 we reduced it a whole mill from the 2016 and 2017 mill. This is the lowest rate we've seen in the past 8 years since I've been with the county. And although the millage rate is lower than last year's millage rate, it is still 6.25% higher than the calculated rollback rate, which is 13.878. And again, this is the millage rate that will hold the revenue neutral, the same as it would have been last year. However, the budget that the board adopted requires additional revenue than what that millage rate could generate. So this shows the tax digest from last year, the revenue estimates, and then the revenue estimates for this year. Again, it has the net assessed values as I spoke of earlier, and the base millage rate. You can see where it went down from last year to this year, as well as the net millage rate decreased from 15.089 to 14.746 after applying the sales tax credit. Once we apply the millage rate to the digest, we are estimating a gross property tax levy, what would be billed at $136.8 million, which is about $9 million more than last year. And then the net tax collected, sometimes we don't collect all the taxes. We use a 97.5% collection rate as our estimate, and that's at 132.9, or right at $133 million. Although we're not required to have a public hearing for the fire millage rate, because it is a special fire district, I do want to show you just the property, the tax digest and the 5-year history for that as well. And again, similar to the maintenance operation digest, we continue to experience increase in values in the fire district. The current year values are up by $767 million, or 11%. And as far as the millage rate for the fire, we are proposing to maintain it at 4.906, the same as last year, when we reduced it from 5 mills, which we had maintained it at 5 mills, which is the max for 4 years prior to that. So what most people want to know, including myself, because I live in the county as well and have property here, I have to keep my husband from coming because he always wants to come and contest our values. I'm like, look, we need the money to run the county. For a homeowner with a $150,000 fair market value, you know, you only pay, you're only assessed on 40% of that, so only $60,000, and you get your homestead exemption. So you're only paying taxes on $50,000 in net taxable value. What I'm showing is the rollback rate was proposed and compared to the prior year. So last year, this homeowner would have paid $754.45 in taxes. With the proposed, because the millage rate is going down, it would decrease it by $17.15. However, it's going to be $43.40 more than if we go to the rollback rate, if that makes sense. So the okay. So
please explain
that's why
that
you have
again.
to do the math. So the rollback rate, remember, is the same as the revenue that's generated on the prior year's digest, a millage rate, if to maintain a same dollar amount of revenue.
Okay, I'm with you there.
Okay, so because we're proposing a millage rate of 14.746, which is higher than the rollback rate, even though you're going to be paying less than last year, we're not rolling. We rolled it back, but not all the way back to the 13.878. So
Okay.
the state considers that a tax increase because we're not going all the way down to where they would pay the $693.90, they'll pay $737.30 with the proposed rate. Is that a little bit more clear?
It's cloudy clear, yes.
Okay, all right. So the same thing for commercial, with the fair market value of $500,000, a business owner last year would have paid $3,017.80 in the maintenance and operations taxes. At the proposed millage rate, with it being lower, they would pay $68.60 less than last year. However, it would be $173.60 more than if we went back to 13.878. I'm going to think about it for a minute. Okay. So the next slide, oops, let me go back. So we've had a question in the past from some of the commissioners as well as some of the citizens about the percentage of taxes that's paid by homeowners versus commercial or business owners. So I prepared this slide, and I also spoke to this during the budget hearings. So I spoke with our tax assessor, Mr. George, he's here today, to determine what would be truly considered commercial or non-residential, and what's residential and then other. So the categories for non-residential is commercial, industrial, heavy duty, and public utilities. These could be considered commercial and non-residential. And then the residential, of course, would be residential in the mobile homes. And then we have the other category, which is conservation, preferential, and motor vehicles. So as you can see on this slide, the net assessed values of the total net assessed values, 56% of it for this year is for non-residential or commercial properties. 42.9% of it is for residential, with 0.2% for other, agricultural, and 0.7% for other. And those have remained pretty much the same for the past 2 years, right at 57% for non-residential and 42% for residential. And what this means is that when you apply the millage rate to that, you could say 57% of the taxes that we receive is coming from commercial and it's not all on the backs of the residents, which is one of the questions that was asked, has been asked in the past. So the proposed millage rate, as I stated earlier, we have to include the fire district in our total millage rate. For those individuals living in cities who provide their own fire service, their millage rate we would adopt it at the gross at 18.535. That would be countywide. And then we would apply the local option sales tax of 3.789 to reduce it to 14.746. And for those counties, for those residents that live in unincorporated Clayton County or those cities that we do provide fire service for, they would pay an additional 4.906 to support the fire fund to provide those services. So those individuals would have a millage rate of 19.652. So we're asking the board to adopt these two millage rates. After we are required to have 2 more public hearings after this first one. The second one will be held on August the 17th at 11 a.m. And the third one will be held that evening at 6 p.m. on the same day, with the millage rate on the agenda to be adopted at the regular business meeting later that evening. That is all I have, and I think I stayed till like 2 minutes. Any questions? And then also, I wanted to leave some time for you all if you had any questions, and for the citizens to provide have any comments they may have.
Okay.
So before we start the public hearing, does any commissioner have a question for Ms. Bivens?
I don't have a question, it's more of a comment. Because, people are going to say, well, if the millage rate is, X, Y, Z or whatever, why are my taxes going up? I've heard that already.
Right. So the only rate right now, if your property values remain the same, because we are reducing the millage rate from last year, and you look at the 2 tax bills, your property taxes will go down. If your property values went up, of course, you would have an increase. But we're just not going to the rollback rate, which will make it even lower, is the best way I can describe it, if that makes sense. So it's going to be lower. We did roll back, but we didn't roll all the way back to the rollback rate because the tax revenue that the rollback rate would generate would not be sufficient to fund the budget that the board approved. And I've had my staff, we've been calling around to other counties in our area to see what they are doing, and the ones that we've spoken with so far, they're not going to the roll, they're doing the same thing we're doing. They're rolling it back, but not all the way to the rollback rate. I think Henry County, we go from the Henry County is doing the same thing. Fayette may be, and we're waiting on some phone calls from some other people to let us know. So we're not the only ones that's not going all the way back, but we are decreasing the millage rate. So they'll see some relief, but not all the way back to that.
Yeah, especially with these times being uncertain.
Yes.
So
Yes.
better be safe than sorry.
Yes.
But if there is, and just so everybody's clear, if there is an increase in your property value, then you may
Then-
see a small increase. on
Even
your
if we
property.
had a, yes.
They still don't want to hear that.
Yeah, with the,
Right. I'm
just stating what the
saying, you know,
facts
that's
is,
what
but
I've been trying
that
to
is the reason
explain,
why it would
right.
go up. Any other questions for Ms. Bivens?
I do have one. You stated, I think it was roughly the second or third slide, about the increase in sales tax reducing the lost.
Yes, so what happens, we give the citizens, and the state requires us to do it, our local option sales tax is a loss credit. So we have to calculate, include that in our calculations when we're calculating our millage rate, and we have to give them a credit. So we set a gross millage rate, and then we calculate the loss credit, and we do that by taking the sales tax collected for the prior calendar year and dividing it by the net digest. And
Okay.
then it gives us the loss credit. So when those move, that number moves. So
Okay.
if the sales tax goes up and the property values remain the same or go down, that credit will go up.
Okay. Nah.
All right, so we have time for our citizens. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody here who would like to speak on the presentation of the millage increase? Or not increase, I'm sorry, the millage presentation. Please come forward, sir.
Price increase?
No, I said millage proposal. Please,
Okay. My name is Gerald Stepp. I've lived in the county about 50 years. I've been knowing you. You're such a good person, Jeff. And, I knew the commissioners, like I just talked to Gerald.
Matthew.
Matthews.
He just lost his his daughter in January to COVID. And, I used to come here all the time, but this is the first time my increase on my taxes this year went up over double. It went from 381 to 727. I'm on a fixed income, and I can afford it, but a lot of people can't afford that. It just went extremely up, and I love the county, and I just think it's, the increases. But this is not part of it. But the streets that they're making now, like in Jonesboro, I come to Mount Zion Boulevard last night, and these curbs that they're making, and people don't see them. There's a person right there, you turn to Jonesboro High School, coming down Mount Zion. They need to either color or put some barriers up on Terry Boulevard. I don't like them, but I don't have any control of that. But and I'm always calling in about potholes. I love the county, and but the taxes are going to keep going up. I know where Gerald lives, his school, he has to pay school taxes, and it's more than the regular property taxes. And I think Clayton County's a fair place to live, but I just feel like when my property taxes went up from $346 to $727, that was kind of extreme. I protested it, but I never did hear nothing back.
Okay.
That's my voice of opinion, Jerry. Jeff. I'm kind of nervous, but.
Oh, you're doing fine. And I appreciate your comments.
But
Sometimes it's
Clayton County's
good.
got a good police force, and the fire department came to my house a bunch of times. My wife died about 5 years ago, but they saved her life a bunch of times. They don't get enough praise. And the police, we got a lot of security, and I appreciate them.
I appreciate you saying that. And like I was saying, sometimes it's unfortunate that our property values go up. That's fortunate part, because the value of our homes are going up, but with that comes a cost of the assessment of having to pay more on your property tax. But duly noted, sir. Anybody else would like, you want to? Okay. Yes, come forward. Come on, ma'am. And then we'll take the, was it the gentleman in front of me? Yes, we'll take you next, sir.
Hi, my name is Rose Jackson. How you doing, Mom? I tried to follow. But what I did pick up was that people in unincorporated, we were going to see an increase, 19.652. And because all of our property values have gone up, it took 20 years for me. I'm real excited about people asking to buy my house now at these high rates, and I've been waiting 20 years. But I'm not ready to leave yet. I'm not ready to leave yet, but I just don't understand that part, because it seems like unincorporated being punished.
Well, no, the unincorporated rate, remember, is for the fire rate, but that's for the fire services. It's a separate millage rate for that.
Okay.
So that's why you pay the additional. And it's not, it didn't change from last year, so if your values don't change.
No, the value's gonna change.
Your values don't change, right? If your value doesn't change, your taxes don't change. But if your value increases, then it will increase because of the, increase in the value of taxes. We're not changing the millage rate, but there will be an increase because of that.
Well, I just would like to say that if you go on, if things are going to go up, I would like some more services. I've been asking for 2 years for River's Edge, and I'm looking at Dietrich. I've been asking for 2 years for our streets to be paid, and I've been talking to them, and they promised me. So all I'm saying is, if you're gonna go up on me, let me have some services. Let me see the police a little more often. Things like that. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Duly noted. Yes, sir. In front of me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Larry Harrington. I think we've met a time or two. I'm a little confused, I guess, because I hadn't just learned about this meeting and hadn't had time to put a lot of things together, but looking at my own tax bills for the last 10, 11 years, dating back to 2008, when everything crashed for all of us. The millage rate was 13.4553. Value of my house was determined to be $296,000. Being retired, getting all the credits, no school tax, my tax bill was $1,272. This year, my house is assessed at $274,000, still $20,000 below what it was 11 years ago. Millage rate, according to what my tax bill said, was 15.089 for the county tax, the millage rate. My tax bill was $2,029. In last year, 2020, the millage rate was 19. We dropped almost 4 points, 4 mills over that 1 year period. And now, if I understand right, the county is asking for 5 1/4 or 5 1/2 increase in millage rate. Is that correct, sir?
That doesn't sound right. Ms. Bivens.
No, sir, we're actually decreasing the millage rate from the 15.089 to the 14.746.
Yes.
To 14.746. We're decreasing it from 15.089 to 14.746.
So the millage rate's actually going down?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get clear, because what I had heard is just the opposite of that.
No, it's actually going down.
So based on the assessments, and we all know they're going up and fairly rapidly, and we expect that to continue till the next crash comes, because we all know it's going to happen eventually. The cycle always repeats itself. So I just wanted a clarification on that issue.
And if you have any other questions after the fact, we will have another hearing, or you can simply call Ms. Bivens or Mr. George, and they'll be able to
That'd be
answer some
great.
questions for you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
ma'am. Thank you. Ms. Funny? Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else like to speak in reference to the millage rate? Yes, please come forward.
Hi, Chairman. My name is Teresa Talley. I was totally not prepared for this, but from listening, I moved to my house in 2018. I moved in the house that I chose based on my income. And yes, I do understand taxes go up, But what's happening, builders are allowed to build in my subdivision and put whatever amount that they want to put on a house, and my taxes have gone up since 2018. When I called the county, there's nothing that you could do. So if it's a higher taxes, what's the money for? Is the money just for payroll? Because if we try to ask for anything in this county, we have to fight for it. We've been fighting with this county for so long. I don't understand what the increase is. And for you to look at other counties, not you, but for the county to look at other counties and say, well, they're doing it. Well, when you look at other counties, you see where they are spending their money. We don't see that in Clayton County. So when you ask for an increase, for what? To pay payroll? I don't think so. I don't think it's fair to us. Yeah, the value of my house has gone up, but if I try to refinance my home based on the value, do you know how much my mortgage payment is going to be? So it's not going to benefit me. This increase is only going to benefit the county. If we ask for a sidewalk, nope, we're not getting no sidewalk. We can't even get flowers, so I know we're not getting a sidewalk. We can't even get MARTA to put an overhead over their places for the buses. We can't even get MARTA to get a seat. But increase, we should not have to pay for year-end bonuses. Somebody getting something. The residents, nope, we're not getting it.
Okay, so just a couple of things, Ms. Talley. First of all, there is no increase. Your property assessment is going up, and that's assessed on the value of your home. I respectfully disagree with you in reference to this county not being able to show you what we've done with the property tax as well as the SPLOST dollars or pennies that we have recovered or been given by the citizens. There's a number of facilities and top state-of-the-art facilities throughout our county, whether it's rec center, libraries, senior services. There's a plethora of services and facilities that we have that we're very proud of in this county that some of my counterparts have even said, we wish we had that in our county. But the budget is built on property tax. And it doesn't go to we don't have year-end bonuses. What we have is we have a great group or a great number of employees that salaries are based on that, as well as the services that are provided, the 26 different departments we have that provide services to the citizens of Clayton County, and the resources that they need to be able to provide a quality of life to the citizens. That is what the dollars are paid for. We don't give out bonuses.
Chairman, how can you see the buildings, the sidewalks, when you all don't even take care of the outer part? The exits, when you get off the exit?
That's Georgia GDOT. That's not Clayton County, that's the department.
I understand it, you're saying it's GDOT, but you all as commissioners and chair should sit down and talk to GDOT to express your concern as well as ours to improve coming into the county. You can't see the rec center, the senior center. You cannot see it going down 75.
Your statement,
you just can't see it.
Ma'am, your statement was that we don't have it. And I'm just showing you or clarifying or correcting that point, that we have a number of great facilities that have been built by the SPLOST penny, as well as some of the services that are provided to our citizens that we get from the property tax. But if you'd like to, hey, come with me and ride around the county and we show you what we have, I'd be only too happy to do so.
Chairman, I have seen the buildings. My whole concern is the outer part. The beautification, We don't have that.
And trust me, we share that concern with you, and we have sat down with GDOT, and we will continue to do so. But yes, that is a concern that everybody on this board, I can wholeheartedly say has that same
And that's
concern.
been a concern for over 15 years. We just want to see that this concern, we see it. That's all, we want to see it, not continue to talk about it. We just want to see it.
Okay, well, thank you for your comments, ma'am, and that is going to conclude this public hearing. We are about to go into our regular scheduled business meeting at 6:30. Are the commissioners good and ready to go into it, or do you need a small, quick little break? Okay, so I call the meeting to order, and we'll go directly into our scheduled business.